Yes!
Raiding in Destiny and other MMO-style games has always been a pinnacle activity of the PvE endgame. It's difficult to rival the feeling of exhilaration when you get your very first raid clear or your very first clear of any raid in general. However, getting to the end of a raid is usually the hard part for a lot of fire teams, and that's mainly because of the fact that there are times when a fire team has a few members that are poorly equipped for the job and or not raid ready. Understand that no rationally thinking person is going to expect you to have access to every tool in the game that would make you a boss melting machine. Again, I said rationally thinking person because I'm fully aware of the unreasonable expectations on LFG that have basically become a meme at this day and age. You know, the posts that ask for 700 clears of every raid, the ability to solo each raid in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 blindfolded without dying while only wielding a sidearm and using no abilities. Yeah, those people who post on LFG to make you feel like you can't join a cool kids club unless you're God himself. Yeah, you know who you are. When it comes to building a powerful Guardian, it's definitely not going to happen overnight. This kind of power is something obtained after a long time investment, and after grinding for particular mods to construct powerful builds as well. So if you're a returning player or new to the Destiny community as a whole, don't feel bad that you don't have access to all the raid/PvE staples, because that's exactly what this video is for. Because in this video, I'm going to share all my favorite reliable DPS weapons in the game and that everyone has equal access to. So weapons such as 1000 Voices and Anarchy won't be mentioned here since they're RNG based drops, and RNG and equal access have zero correlation to one another. But without further ado, let's get it in. Let's kick things off with the aggressive frame grenade launchers. The Iron Banner Swarm of the Raven is arguably the most popular member of this archetype, which derives from its presence during the season of Opulence. Around that time, it was discovered that Swarm of the Raven had the best boss DPS on account of being a void damage weapon, giving it perfect synergy with Tractor Cannon. Now this was back when Tractor Cannon made enemies afflicted by it receive 50% extra damage if said damage was void. But after being nerfed a bit, Tractor Cannon grants about a 30% buff to all elements, and due to the fact that void damage isn't preferred, Swarm of the Raven and its aggressive frame brothers are all equal in damage output. If you don't own a Swarm of the Raven, the Vanguard's Outrageous Fortune and the Moon's Love and Death are equally amazing options. Grenade launchers have such reliable damage output because of the perk known as Spike Grenades. This perk increases the damage of grenade launcher projectiles from direct hits. Spike Grenades are the bread and butter of any PvE grenade launcher, so if you don't have this perk, you're better off farming until you get a grenade launcher that has it. Now, for the launcher barrels, none of these options will matter as much if you have Spike Grenades, but the best perk to go for here is Hard Launch. Hard Launch is the only launcher barrel that decreases blast radius. If you aren't aware why I'm suggesting to go for low blast radius, it's because the lower the blast radius, the more damage is conveyed to the spike grenades. That's because grenade launcher damage is split up between the grenade impact itself and the explosion. So if your grenade launcher has a higher blast radius, the damage will be more localized to the explosion and not the impact of the grenade itself. Masterwork attributes aren't really super important, but if I was to recommend anything, it would be velocity. Higher velocity equals faster projectile travel time, and the faster that your grenades can strike your opponent, the faster you can damage them. As of presently, all the aggressive frame grenade launchers capable of random rolls can roll field prep, which is an amazing perk that adds a few rounds to your ammo reserves, combined with the increased reload speed, ready speed, and stow speed while crouching. Field prep is probably the only trait perk that matters for aggressive frame grenade launchers, but even if you don't have it, it isn't the end of the world by any means. Your weapon can have two of the most useless trait perks, but it won't matter at all as long as it has spike grenades. The Moon's Love and Death is the only aggressive frame grenade launcher that can roll full court, and this perk is amazing because it increases the damage of your grenade launcher's projectiles based on travel time, meaning that the further you are away from your target, the more damage your projectiles will do. Now while we're on the subject of grenade launchers, let's talk about Wendigo. Now getting an aggressive frame grenade launcher with spike grenades isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do because of RNG, but due to the fact that Wendigo is a quest-based weapon, the only thing that stands between you and obtaining it is completing a quest, which isn't difficult at all. Wendigo is a good alternative to the grenade launcher archetype mentioned previously via its exclusive perk, Explosive Light, which increases the damage of 6 rounds in Wendigo's magazine after picking up an Orb of Light. Orb of Light generation is incredibly simple, so maintaining this perk is just as simple. Now if you're new to raiding and you don't own an aggressive frame grenade launcher with spike grenades, your fire team will feel content if you own a Wendigo instead. Whisper of the Worm at one point in time was the undisputed king of boss DPS, but since its debut in Destiny 2 a year and a half ago, it became the victim of several nerfs. Even though Whisper isn't as powerful as it formerly was, this weapon is by no means a pushover, and after the nerf the Luna faction boost and Rally Barricade, it's safe to say that Whisper of the Worm has reobtained its seat in the PvE meta due to being the only weapon in the game that can automatically reload itself. Now if you currently own Whisper of the Worm and haven't yet obtained its catalyst, do yourself a favor and get it over with. I realize that it takes a total of 3 weeks to get the catalyst, but it's worth every bit of it because you'll be dealing an extra 61% damage with the catalyst Whisper Breathing perk. At the point in time that I'm recording the commentary for this video, I've completed the Garden of Salvation raid once, and during the boss fight, I was putting up some big DPS numbers with Whisper of the Worm. I briefly spoke of the nerf to Luna faction boost and Rally Barricade, but I didn't say how drastically these nerfs completely changed the tides of the PvE meta. The days of one phase in every boss in the game were over. But there was one particular weapon that rose to the top for boss damage, and that weapon is the Izanagi's Burden. Lunafaction Boots and Rally Barricade lost the ability to auto-reload your currently equipped weapon, and now currently grant a reload buff similar to that of Outlaw. So while the majority of the weapons in the game lost a lot of potency, Izanagi's Burden was actually buffed. Being a weapon whose signature exotic perk relies on manually reloading, Izanagi's Burden receives zero benefit from the auto-reloading abilities. But now that Lunafaction Boots and Rally Barricade grant increased reload speed, you can proc Izanagi's Burden's Honed Edge ×4 perk even faster. Now, if you have a fully masterwork challenge to opulence, I highly suggest completing a run of the Heroic Menagerie, as doing so will guarantee you the drop of the Izanagi's Burden Catalyst. After 500 PvE kills, or roughly 165 PvP kills, or whichever route works better for you, you have this catalyst completed. A fully masterwork Izanagi's Burden will grant 20% more damage to Honed Edge ×4. Legend of Acrius is one of my favorite exotic weapons in the entire Destiny franchise, and probably my favorite exotic heavy weapon in Destiny 2 as a whole. Not only does this weapon look amazing, it's also capable of some very scary things against bosses within shotgun distance, i.e. Galran's Deception, Vorgeth from the Shattered Throne, and Morgeth from the Last Wish raid. In fact, the first time I soloed the Shattered Throne, I used Legend of Acrius without the catalyst to defeat the Shattered Throne's Vorgeth, and it put in more than its fair share of work. But speaking of the catalyst, I highly suggest jumping into the prestige version of the Leviathan raid, and hopefully the catalyst will drop for you. Because with it, the Legend of Acrius gains 4 extra rounds in his magazine from 2 to 6, and also grants a massive boost to his reload speed. The Legend of Acrius still has some viability without the catalyst, but in present day Destiny 2, I can't fully recommend using something with 2 rounds in a magazine and a painfully slow reload speed. Firing Line is a perk available on 2 sniper rifles in the game, those being Gamer Prime's Soul Survivor and the Moon's Tranquility. And out of the 2 of these weapons, I would suggest going for the Tranquility, since it's incredibly easy to farm via the Moon's Lectern of Enchantment, whereas dropping the Soul Survivor has zero intentionality since it's 100% random. Destiny 2's PvE meta is vastly different from that of Destiny 1's, in the sense that most if not all of the heavy hitting DPS powerhouses are in the heavy slot, and that's about it. In Destiny 1, the best DPS staples existed in the heavy and the special slot, and the perk Firing Line makes it so that sniper rifles can hold their own against bosses. If I recall correctly, Firing Line grants extra 23% damage to your weapon if 2 or more allies are within proximity. You will see a notification on the left side of your screen that the Firing Line perk is active. I love this perk because there have been too many instances where I would run out of heavy ammo and my contribution to the boss's DPS phase drastically decreases. Now, if you've ever been in the same boat, fret not, because the Firing Line perk will take care of that for you. Alright everybody, that does it for this one. I hope that you find this video to be helpful. In the comment section, tell me what your go-to DPS weapons are. If you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor and thumb wrestle that like button until it turns blue. And if you're new to my neck of the woods, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you don't ever miss a video of the most elite gaming content. But with that being stated, 1LHD is over and out. Y'all take it easy.